Hanna is the future of this family. July just needs to be good. I heard those words on a summer evening when I was 13 years old. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I was just passing through the living room, planning to ask Mom to sign a permission slip for the school's summer camp. And then, I froze at the corner of the hallway, clutching the slip until it crumpled, as Dad's voice rang out clear, resolute, without a hint of hesitation. Mom, sitting beside him, only sighed and nodded in agreement. Yes, Hanna is smart, beautiful, she'll have a future. As for July, as long as she doesn't cause trouble, that's enough. I stood there, motionless, as if turned to stone. The soft yellow light of the house spilled out the window, casting their shadows long across the floor. Two adults discussing the fates of two daughters born at the same hour, on the same day, yet seemingly living in two different worlds. I bit my lip, swallowing a sigh, and quietly turned away. The permission slip in my hand, my small dream of a joyful summer, was crumpled into a ball and shoved into my pocket. I didn't show it to them. I didn't ask again. I never mentioned the summer camp again. Because from that moment, I understood. In my parents' eyes, Hanna was the perfect painting still being crafted. And I was just a shadow on the edge of that canvas. From that day on, I learned to be silent. I learned to smile when I received cheaper birthday gifts while Hanna had grand parties at restaurants. I learned to console myself each time Mom compared us. Why can't you be as quick-witted as your sister Hanna? Why don't you take better care of yourself, like your sister? I never shouted in protest. I never threw tantrums or argued. I just quietly withdrew, like a small seedling growing off course in a garden where only the most splendid flowers were tended. But there was something they didn't know, and something I hadn't yet realized at the time. A small seedling, though forgotten, still silently drives its roots deep into the earth. And one day, when it's strong enough, it will rise, stretching toward the sky on its own strength, needing no one's encouragement, no one to pave the way. In my family, all favor naturally tilted toward Hanna, as if it were an unquestionable truth. From childhood, I was used to seeing her get the best of everything. When we were 6, starting elementary school, Hanna got 3 brand new uniforms, designer sneakers, and a sparkly Disney princess backpack. Me? I wore her hand-me-downs, patched in places, and my shoes were a size too big. Mom said, "They'll last longer that way." By high school, the differences were even starker. Hanna was chauffeured to school and enrolled in expensive extracurriculars, piano, ballet, French lessons. I biked to school myself and took a part-time job as a library assistant to save up for books. During summer breaks, while Hanna attended upscale camps and checked in at luxurious resorts, I worked at a nearby bakery, wiping tables, washing dishes, and wrapping pastries I could only dream of tasting. On birthdays, I learned not to expect much. I still remember my 16th birthday vividly. My parents threw Hanna a huge party, balloons filling the backyard, a 3-tiered cake, and a crowd of friends. I stood in the crowd, smiling, clapping, but inside, I felt hollow. When it came time to open gifts, Mom handed Hanna one beautifully wrapped box after another. And me? Nothing. Not a single small package, not even a card. Just a fleeting, guilty glance from Mom, paired with a phrase I'd heard so often it was ingrained. "You're grown now. You don't need gifts anymore." Grown. Grown. So I didn't need to be loved like before. Grown. So I just needed to stand there, nod, smile, and tell myself, I'm fine. Each time I tried to do something different, to show who I was, the response was always like a stick striking my budding self-esteem. "You need to be more like your sister. Look at your sister, neat, polite, accomplished. Don't embarrass the family." No one asked what I wanted. No one asked what I liked. They just wanted me to be good. The kind of obedient good that didn't cause trouble, didn't demand, didn't disrupt their carefully drawn plans for this family. And slowly, I realized. In that house, I wasn't a child nurtured with love. I was just an accessory to the happy picture they wanted to paint for Hanna. But it was those very years. That very feeling of being left behind. It quietly nurtured in me a resolve they had never seen and never understood. One day, I would step out from the shadow they confined me to. Without their support, without their approval. All I needed was to know who I was and what I deserved. When I walked through the university gates, I knew I was starting a battle I'd have to fight alone. No parents waiting with a check for tuition. No words of encouragement or small gifts to cheer me on. What did I have? Just an old backpack, a little savings from years of part-time jobs, and an ironclad determination that, this time, I wouldn't rely on anyone. I started applying for scholarships from the first days of college. Any opportunity, even the smallest grant, I didn't let pass. I filled out applications, wrote essays, sent emails, attended interviews, all on my own, with no one to remind me, no one to guide me. On top of full-time studies, I took 3 part-time jobs. Mornings, I worked in the campus cafeteria, preparing breakfast for hundreds of rushed students. Afternoons, I was a library assistant, shelving books, entering data, sometimes covering late shifts. And on weekends, I tutored, teaching math to middle school kids in a nearby neighborhood. Some days, I only got 3 or 4 hours of sleep. Some days, I biked through pouring rain, my bag heavy with assignments due at the last minute. Each time I felt like collapsing, I told myself, no one's coming to save you. It's just you. And so, I gritted my teeth and kept going. The turning point came in my sophomore year. One day, my inbox pinged with a new message, an invitation to the selection round for a prestigious national scholarship, a program where only the top students in the country were considered. I read that email at least 5 times. Not because I doubted my abilities, but because, for the first time, someone, some system, recognized my efforts with a real opportunity. I rushed home, the printed email still in hand, thinking, this time, surely mom and dad will be proud. I told them about it, brimming with excitement and hope, but they just glanced at each other and shrugged. Oh, really? Keep it up. But don't let it interfere with Hannah's grad school prep. That was it. No offer to help. No questions about the interview schedule. No one suggested driving me to the city center for the interview. I stood there, hearing the clatter of pots in the kitchen, Hannah's laughter from the living room, and once again, that familiar loneliness wrapped around me like a damp cloak. But unlike before, this time I didn't wait for them. I figured out the schedule myself, took the bus across town. I printed my essays, edited my portfolio, and bought a simple blazer with money I'd saved from months of part-time work. No one saw me off at the door. No one called to check on me as I sat shivering, waiting for the earliest bus in the dawn. Just me, alone, clutching my portfolio, sitting on a hard plastic chair with only one quiet flame burning inside. Even if no one sees me, I will shine. I walked into that interview, not with loud confidence, but with a quiet belief. I told my story, no embellishments, no complaints, just the truth of what I'd been through, with all the effort and resilience I'd built over years of being overlooked. And when I left that room, I knew, whatever the outcome, I had walked a long road on my own, needing no one to hold my hand. The day of the awards ceremony came, quiet and solemn, like a milestone I reached without anyone leading me. I wore the simplest dress I had, navy blue, slightly worn but clean and pressed. I took the bus to the Grand City Hall where the ceremony honored the nation's top students. Standing among a sea of people, thousands of students and their families, dressed vibrantly, their laughter ringing out, I still felt alone. No parents by my side. No arm around my shoulder for encouragement. Just me, with a heart pounding in my chest, knowing I had made it here despite no one believing I could. The ceremony began. Names were called one by one. Each name brought waves of applause, cheers, whistles, and parents calling out their children's names with pride. I sat there, hands clasped tightly, heart racing, telling myself, it's okay. Even if no one cheers for me, I'm proud. Then, it was my turn. The name, July Adams, echoed, clear and strong through the speakers. The spotlight swung to me, blurring everything else, leaving just me standing there, exposed under the light. I stood and walked to the stage. Each step felt heavy, carrying the weight of an abandoned childhood, silent birthdays, and long nights studying when the world seemed to have forgotten me. I accepted the certificate of honor, camera flashes snapping relentlessly. People clap, strangers' hands, but full of goodwill. I bowed in thanks, but inside, I no longer sought anyone's approving gaze. I had proven myself, first and foremost, to myself. And then, as I turned to walk down the stage steps, I caught a glimpse of them, my parents. They stood tucked away in a corner of the hall, their eyes wide with shock, as if they couldn't believe what was unfolding before them. I knew why they were there. That same day, in a nearby room, Hanna was attending a small event, a department-level essay contest. They had come to support Hanna, as always. They had no idea that their second child, the one they always saw as a shadow, was the center of this grand ceremony today. I saw them asking someone nearby, confused. I saw their flustered looks, their hurried whispers. They didn't take a seat among the honored guests. They stood there, like strangers, out of place in the crowd cheering for my achievement. And in that moment, for the first time in my life, I looked at my parents without hoping they'd rush to hug me, without waiting for praise or proud tears. I just quietly smiled. A calm, mature smile, no longer needing anyone's permission to exist. Did they recognize me? Oh, they did. But any recognition now was just something that came too late. Because I, the daughter once overlooked, once abandoned, had learned to light my own way without needing their spotlight. After that ceremony, something in me quietly changed. Not the world around me suddenly shifting. Not my parents suddenly becoming the loving parents I wished for. It was me. I had changed. I no longer sought their approving glances. I no longer wondered if I'd done enough to be loved. I no longer placed my worth in anyone's hands but my own. I kept studying, kept working, kept taking steady steps on the path I had carved for myself. Each day, I learned something new. That pride doesn't come from outshining others, but from looking in the mirror each morning and saying, I gave it my all. I didn't give up. I still came home for holidays, still sat at the dinner table with my parents and Hanna. No hatred, no resentment, just no longer trying to squeeze into conversations where I was always pushed to the sidelines. If they asked about school, I answered briefly, politely. If they stayed silent, I smiled, ate my dinner, no longer feeling the weight in my heart as before. I didn't demand recognition. I didn't need rushed hugs or belated praise. Because I knew I had built my own place, with my own feet, with my own will. Strangely, that silence began to change my family. It started with small, casual questions from Mom. Do you need any help? Then Dad's occasional glances, as if wanting to know more than just the surface. Even Hanna, the sister used to being the center of attention, started to falter when my successes came up. I saw it. I felt it, but I didn't rely on it. I didn't need their attempts to make up. I didn't need apologies. Because when you've truly stepped into the light, you no longer care who's still standing in the dark. You just keep moving forward, because the light you carry within, that's what truly guides you. If someone asked me, do you have any regrets? I'd smile and shake my head. Because without those years of being overlooked, without those long days of silent effort unseen by anyone, I wouldn't be the person I am today, resilient, strong, and proud to be myself. I've learned that when you shine the right way, no one, not even those who ignored you, can dim your light. True light doesn't need a spotlight. It comes from within, from resilience, from faith, and from the times you fell but chose to stand up, needing no one to lift you. And that is the most beautiful victory. A victory that doesn't need recognition, because it's already etched deep in your own heart. Have you ever been overlooked in your own family? Is your greatest success overcoming yourself? Like, comment, subscribe if you believe no one defines your worth but you.